Welcome to episode 236 of The Numbers Game. I'm Jace, I'm here with Nick, and today we've got a bit of a different show for you. It's a guest episode day, and we're diving into the inspiring journey of Christofi. He's the founder and the CEO of Reventon. He's gone through some interesting challenges in his life, and he's built an amazing property empire and business. He's a philanthropist. He's going to share his insights on resilience, business growth, and the importance of giving back. Christofi, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure being here, guys. Thanks for having me. 236. That's very impressive, boys. Well done.
Thank you, mate. Well, Nick and I have the pleasure of knowing you. I think I met you through Cub Club. Nick, what about you? What's your background with Chris? Same thing?
Cub, yep. The place that brings inspiring people together. Look at us three.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's about 4 or 5 years ago, I'd say, I think, from memory.
Oh, mate, maybe even longer.
2019, yeah, probably was longer.
Well, mate, firstly, I just want to say congratulations. Not many people will know this, but you've just ticked over 20 years in business. So you got me covered by a few years. And, I think I'm just interested initially to hear about Reventon, what you guys do. Obviously, what you're doing is something good because you've been doing it for 20 years. So just maybe a bit of background on Reventon and how you got to where you are.
Well, it definitely looks like I got you covered by many years. If you look at us, mate, definitely look a lot older than you, that's for sure. So, yeah, it was a very, very big milestone this year. So the 21st of March, we celebrate our 20 years in business. So it was very, very big. I remember starting the business back from my parents' home living room in 2005 with a debt of $348,000. So it was always the plan to be a fully integrated financial services company. So what started as a property company then turned into a finance company. We started that company around about 12, 13 years ago. We followed that up with accounting, financial planning, and property management. So it was always that vision to become fully integrated. Now, we're very, very proud, obviously, to have helped over 10,000 clients, sold over 3,500 properties, feature in over 100 publications, win over 50 awards. And the thing that I'm most proud of, which we're going to talk to a little bit later, is our philanthropy work. So we've done some amazing things. The 20 years has gone very, very fast. I look back and pinch myself. I can't believe how quick it's gone. There was a lot of challenges, but it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, unreal. Look, I'm also going to throw in some different questions to what we'd usually do. I want to dig a little bit deeper about you, Chris. I mean, that 20 years in business and what you've gone through, the mindset to, think about all the different services you need to add on to make sure that you had that 360 degrees of a client's journey covered. But what about your background? What got you to a point where you went, I'm going to start a business and this is how I'm going to do it? What was the aha moment, or what drives you in that way to do that?
When I got recruited in this industry when I was 19, I remember calling up. Her name was Robin, and I asked to come in for an interview. She goes, "How old are you?" I go, "I'm 19. She goes, "No, you're too young. Don't hang up the phone. Don't hang up the phone. Let me come and meet him face to face, and he can say no to me. Don't hang up the phone, Robin, please." She goes, "You know what? All right, come in." Anyway, he interviews me with another fella because he goes, "I don't want to waste my time," I think is what Trent was thinking at the time. So he pitches me. He goes, "Chris, what do you think?" Now, I've done a lot of sales roles and I've been selling since I was 10. So I'm very confident selling anything, but I know zero about real estate. So after his pitch, he goes, "What do you think, Chris?" I said, "Listen, if you give me a chance, I'll be your best guy within 3 months." And I said to him at the start of that, "I don't know the difference between commercial or residential property. I live at home with my parents." And then I said, "Give me a chance." He said, "You're on." That's all it took. So I bought my first property when I was shortly thereafter, so 19 to 20. Fell in love with industry, and to this day, I'm a student of sales, I'm a student of business, and I just keep learning and evolving. So although I was always very, very competent, and I was always one of the best in sales in every roles that I've done, I probably study sales more than anyone that I know as well. So I keep sharpening my ability to connect with people, to become better at communicating, to create a service and a product, whatever that may be.
I've got a serious question for you, but before we do that, what was the first thing you sold at age 10?
Scratch tickets. So my uncle used to sell scratch tickets in Cyprus and he used to give me 32 tickets on consignment. I had to pay him back for 30 and 2 was my profit. So on the weekends when I was away from school, he would give me tickets and he had 5 or 6 sales reps. I'd outsell all of them. And my trick was I'd speak to everybody. And then they go, "I'll have 1 ticket, Chris." And I said, "Buy the last 3. It's my last row. They're the lucky ones." They'd buy the last 3. When they'd buy them, I'd take my next row. They go, "Chris, you said it's the last row." I said, of that one, I've got more in my pocket. So then they'd get to know me. So I'd keep going up to everyone and keep asking. They'll look at me and they'll turn their head. No, Chris is coming again. And they'd always buy tickets. So then when I have 3 months off school, I started working pretty much full time to make more money. Then when I became 13, I started playing pool for money. So I'd always have incomes because I was always fascinated. Is that the serious question?
No.
Oh.
That one took precedence over the serious question, so I thought it was more fun. Obviously, you're in the property game, and you've been in the property game for for a long time. Lots happening, and particularly in our state, but not just our state, nationally. Obviously, we've got a Labor government. Just a bit of a view on your current, on your idea of the current state of the market, and we can talk about Victoria or Australia holistically. How you think it's going, where you think it's going, impacts that are happening with government. Like, what are you telling your clients?
I get asked a lot, what do you think the property market's doing? When's the right time to buy? And I give a biased answer, but I think it's a very accurate one. The right time to buy is always yesterday. On the proviso you can afford to keep the property for the right amount of time, you'll make money. So if you've got the right safety nets in place, you buy in the right areas that offer good cash flow, good capital growth, and good tax savings, you're always going to position yourself to make money. Buffett says buy and hold. That's a good strategy. Real estate's the same. So if you're a property investor, not a speculator, it's always going to serve you all in the property market. Now, the properties that my company sells, I say is a bold statement, it's recession-proof and you'll always make money. People go, but how can you say that? Because between the 500,000 to 700,000 mark, it's got a very high percentage in rent. We deal in new builds, so it's got a high tax saving, and people always have to buy this product. So it's got a very, very low vacancy rate. A lot of people renting it. Banks, as you guys know better than anyone, will give 95% against some with LMI components. So it's a very safe investment. On the proviso you put the right safety nets in place, you'll always make money. Now, there's always emerging markets. You look at the medium house prices, but there's always sub-pockets in certain areas, whether that be regional Victoria, interstate. So there's always markets outperforming other markets. So at Reventon, we do a lot of due diligence based on research, where the market's heading, where it's 9 o'clock on the property clock, which for those who don't know, it's an emerging market. What's going to show that the property market's going to increase? Now, obviously, elections make a big difference in that. But I think the biggest difference election makes is in buyer sentiment. People are more confident. Same with interest rates. Now, when you look at interest rates, they slightly go up. It's when you see a second, third interest rate rise where people have that buyer's confidence, or conversely, is when the media does a lot of fear mongering. Rates are going up, people can't afford to live in them, people tighten up. So when I was younger, and I had 8 properties before I started Reventon, and I lost them all because I over leveraged, that's when I created the Reventon formula. So when my clients invest, I make sure that they can afford the property for the right amount of times as the property is going up, and they can afford to pay the repayments, they're building equity faster, they can get back into the property market and really build upon that. So a lot of our clients have bought multiple properties because we make sure the first property, which I say is the most important, they're not over leveraged, they know where they're buying in an emerging market, and that could be across Australia. A lot of companies focus on one area. We look at Australia wide because an emerging market, sometimes Victoria is going to outperform other states. And if you look at the last 10 years, we've gone from Victoria to Adelaide, to Southeast Queensland, to Perth. Now we're coming back to Victoria again. So we do a lot of due diligence based on that.
The whole time from the start of your story of when you were a child when you were young and you were selling, all I've heard is that there's hunger for education and learning. And then right through into the journey now with Reventon, how it's all about learning, researching, going through that. How important in the journey with the customers or the clients that you deal with, how big is the education piece rather than just kind of getting them a property at the end of the journey? Does the education piece form a big part?
I'm really not that interested in just giving someone a property and not seeing them again. I'm into building relationship with our clients. I don't want customers, I want clients. I think education is the most important, because when you get educated on a process, that competence, when you repeat a process, develops confidence, and you can buy 2, 3, and 4 properties. Now, because I was a victim of over leveraging when I was younger, and back in the day, low doc and no doc loans were a lot more prevalent than they are now. So although I was earning great income, how could I have 8 properties? My income was 300K. It was a great income, but surely due to the availability of loans, I could get more money back then. Now, that time frame in my life, it wasn't a robust strategy because the company I was working for into receivership. If certain things didn't go my way, so the property market had to keep growing, my income had to stay in touch, people had to rent my properties for 50, 52 weeks of the year. It wasn't a robust strategy. Yes, I'd make money in a rising tide market. So if the properties are growing, but when that didn't happen, when the company went to receivership, I lost it all. So when I founded Reventon, I wanted to make sure that I take the learnings that I learned as a 24-year-old investor into what I'm going to teach my clients, which is also what I wrote about in my book, Your Path to Wealth Brick by Brick.
Chris, I can't help but notice or take in there's a passion. There's a passion when you talk about business and property, and there's an energy there, and it's look, it's bloody impressive, for lack of a better word, given you're 20 years in. So, what is it that drives you to achieve the motivation? Like, how do you, like, 20 years is a bloody long time, and I can relate. And for me, I know this isn't about me, but I explain it as in my business keeps changing, so I get remotivated. The passion's still there. I can't help but hear it. So what is it that motivates you and drives you to continue to achieve?
I get asked this a lot, but I don't know. Like, I wake up, I've got 4 kids. I live in a great home. I eat beautiful food. My kids go to great schools. I've got an amazing team. I just want to get better. So I know if I can get better, I can serve my team better. I can serve my community better. And I was like this from day one. I remember when we did an exercise and I was closing at 94%, had the highest rates by anyone in the company. And they said, rate your performance from 1 to 10. I think I put 2 or 3. Someone closing at 70 gave themselves an 8.5 and 9. And my manager, Trent, the owner of the company that I worked for later, said, why'd you say 2? And I said, because there's so much more that I need to learn. There's so much better that I want to get. So what excites me is I know that the better I get, the more I need to learn, the better I can become. I can serve more. And I feel like it's day one. I'm still like a kid in a candy store when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to business. And when it comes to my mentors, a lot of them say, I've never met someone who's that relentless when it comes to learning or that wants to know more. One of my mentors goes, I've never met anyone that questions business more than you. And I go, funny with a question. I go, is that a good thing? Because it's a great thing, but you just want to know everything. You keep asking questions. So when it comes to business, I want to learn more. But furthermore to that, I think it's our obligation as CEOs and as leaders to keep upskilling. It's our obligation to pass that on to our staff, to our team. And if you're not evolving, you're dying. And you owe that to your clients. Like when you talk about certain areas, people go, I would never invest in that area. Well, maybe you'll never invest in that area now, but later on things might change. I was against Perth when it was all about mining. But when it became different pillars of why it was a good investment, I went to Perth, we made a lot of money, and it became a more secure investment. So I don't know where the passion comes from. I've always been this way. I've got a lot to be grateful for. I'm very, very lucky. And the better I get or the more I evolve, the more I want to learn. And I keep thinking, I say this all the time. If you haven't spoken to me for 20 years, I'm the exact same kid, annoying, funny, that always smiles, but I've evolved. Every 6 months, I'm a new person. And one of the biggest goals to Reventon, I want you to walk in here and not recognize the company. It's evolved that much through its people, through its service offerings. And it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just the way I am. It's the way I'm wired.
So it wasn't necessarily the theme of this episode, but learning is the current theme that I can hear over and over again. And maybe it is that, but I was going to ask, is there a particular behavior or mindset that you've adopted that just fuels the accomplishments that you've achieved over the years?
I hang around great people. So in every job that I've done in sales, I used to ask 2 questions. Who's the best? Can I spend a week with them? So in every role that I've done, I can tell you who the best performer was. And I spent time with him because I knew that I could emulate those results and get better. When I was fighting, my friends were world champions. When I was playing snooker, my friends were the best ever in this country. So whatever I did, poker, I had great poker players around me. So I adopted their mindset and I incorporated it in myself. So I always surrounded myself with good people. And there was a lot of commonalities with the way they think, the way they work, the way they operate as people.
Yeah, wow.
It sounds real basic, doesn't it? But I just don't think people think that way or would think to do it. So 20 years in business, you've also got a podcast, Relentless Life on Your Terms.
I do.
Yeah, which how many episodes are you in?
Not as much as you guys. About 110, 120. Both of you are featured on, which was amazing. We've filmed in America. We've filmed in the Gold Coast, Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne, and we also go to people's offices. So I kind of say it's a show that goes on the road. Do it in my office. There's some virtual episodes as well. We do a bit of everything, yeah.
20 years in business, 110 episodes. You've obviously had some, I listened to your podcast. You've had some amazing business people on there, no more than Jace. But what's the biggest, and without sounding cliche here, but is there something that a learning you've taken away either from being in business for 20 years or listening to other professionals on the podcast, specific to business growth?
Yeah, they definitely look, and we've had elite athletes as well. 5-time world heavyweight champion Sam Greco, 5-time Sam Solomon. We've had world champions. We've had people who have won medals as well in footy, Olympians. It's their mindset. It's how they operate. It's their curious nature to be better, and it's not a victim. It's a champion mentality. Whatever's happening external, I can't control. There's certain things I can control. So even when it comes to business or my setbacks, all I do when I've had the biggest setbacks in my life, I get back and I go, you know what? What's out of my control? What do I need to do now? Who do I need around me? So when I've had some of the most personally challenging times in my life, that was a methodology I adopted. I was an absolute mess. I put back and I thought, you know what? Who do I need around me? Who's the team that's going to get me through this? And how am I going to become better at the end of it? And through every setback, the comeback's always greater. You're going to become a better version of yourself.
In scaling a business the size that you have and for 20 years, my question was leading into, what has been, apart from learning, right? You're constantly talking about learning, but there's one thing to learn and there's another thing to execute. What is the key to execution to continue to grow and scale a business? Because, as an accountant, running an accounting firm, we see a lot of businesses that try and do it and then they fail and they're gone and they shut down and
don't overthink it.
Yeah. Okay.
The smallest action is more powerful than the greatest thought. So when people think and think and think, just get started. The hardest part's getting started. You'll build momentum. So for me, if I'm accused of doing anything, I take too many shots. So as I'm getting older now, I want to still attack with the same tenacity, but I want to be more strategic with the shots that I take so they can have a much bigger impact. So if anything I've learned in 20 years in business, I never want to lose that ability to take heaps of shots, but I want to spend a little bit more time at the front of them before I say go. Because I think if I take a couple less shots, they'll be a lot more impactful. So what I did in the 20 years, Nick, which I think is important, is I sat down and I said, what did I do really well in the 20 years? What's taken up my time? How effective were they? How much impact have they had? What can I do less of and what can I do more of? What can I double down on? So I actually sat down and I reflected on my 20 years, on the good things that we did, which is fantastic and I'm very proud of, but more important on the things I could have done better, on the things I could have been more strategic. And having an advisor in my business, having an advisor personally, I've got a couple of them, really helps me as a sounding board to make sure that I'm making the right decisions for myself, my team, and my clients.
That really resonates with me too, man. I think being in business so long, the thing you learn, not just business, but life, is how much of a precious commodity time is. So you talk about taking a lot of shots, and I think about the same thing. I'm far more strategic now about what we do because I understand the opportunity cost of doing something wrong and going down the wrong path, or just doing something that wasn't going to get you an ROI, that something else might have. So I can definitely relate to that. And that comes with time in the game, making mistakes, doing the wrong things. You definitely do become far more strategic, I think, as you get older because you realize you've got less time to stuff it up, basically. That's
but
how
also
I'd
too, Nick, what I've realized too, when you make a mistake that you could have avoided, it also takes time. It also costs money to unwind that mistake, to get it back to neutral. So every mistake that you make, it's not just time, it's a financial setback. It's an energetic setback. So you can redeploy that energy or that capital elsewhere. So as I look at things that I've taken a lot of great shots, but a lot of them were avoidable mistakes that I made due to being too keen, too eager, let's give it a go. And I remember my team used to always be nervous when I'd go travel. because I'd come back with 100 ideas. Oh no, he's going to kill us when he comes back. And most of my companies I've launched when I was overseas. I think the finance company I was in, the Maldives, I go, we're going to do this. So we come back and bang. A lot of them were good shots, yes. But a lot of the other ones were, I look at them now and I put my ideas down and I go, I write them also, I make sure that they're out of my head, helps my OCD and it gets out of the loop in my head. Which is the 2, 3 that are going to impact the business the most? Do my advisors and mentors agree? Let's go full steam ahead. Before it's 10, hey guys, we're doing these 10 things, let's go. And we're not doing it as effective. But whether you're 20 years in business, 1 year in business, or 50 years in business, you're a student. You're only getting better. You're only learning, you're only evolving. So it comes down to that question. I'm at the peak of my powers now. I'm more strategic. I'm kind of, I'm not going to say midway in my life, 45, because I never planned to retire or stop working. I couldn't think of anything worse. But I can be more strategic. I can have more impact.
So with the 20-year review, what was something you identified that you want to do more of?
Double down on sales, funny enough. Double down on the things I enjoy. And also, not that I enjoy, but also have an impact on the business. So some things that don't have an impact on a business, but they're because I love them, fine. But how much time are they taking? As an example, I was the biggest sponsor in Australian history for 10 years from 210 to 220 snooker. Spent over $1 million. Great. But the time that was taking, in addition to the $1 million that I invested in the sport, in hindsight, I went too hard or was too much. It wasn't really moving the needle as much as I'd like. Yes, it was a passion project, but $1 million is a lot of money. Looking back, I should have put 200 there and I would have grabbed 800,000 donated to charity, gave to the homeless. I should have pivoted quicker. The reason I didn't pivot quicker, Jason, a lot of the times I don't pivot quicker is because I'm doing so many things that I'm not reviewing quicker. So it's good things to do, but you got to review them as well and say, cut, chip down, chip up. I wasn't doing that before. And due to, unfortunately, I got divorced. Fortunately, that made me look at certain things I didn't have to look at. And that's been probably the biggest blessing in disguise, because I've had to really lift up the hood to not just my business, but my personal life and make a lot of improvements. And I look back on that moment, and although it was probably the second most horrific time of my life, first being my son almost died when he became deaf. Second was my divorce and how the circumstances of it. It's been the most challenging and confronting time of my life, but it's the best version of Chris is showing up now too. So I'm also very grateful that I had that opportunity.
Mate, you've just touched on, look, sorry to hear that some of the things you've gone through, but from what you've talked about, how that's brought you out on the other side. I mean, as you said, the blessing in disguise, but any of those things could have broken some people and they wouldn't be able to come back in and get back up and keep going. Not only have you got up and kept going and talk about yourself as the best version of yourself coming out the other side, you just dropped that instead of $1 million on snooker, you could have done 200 grand and put 800,000 into charity. That I want to focus on a little bit now to go, there's not that many people that think about that and want to give back to charity, and especially something like the homeless. And I remember, might have been a few years ago, I looked up at a billboard and saw your face, on the billboard for the CEO Sleepout. You've also got an initiative called Lead with Kindness. So I'd love you to focus a little bit now to talk about, what is this all about? Why do you do it?
It drives me. When Nick said passion, so I'm so passionate about work. I'm like a kid in the candy store. I love my kids more than anything, which everyone would say. And then I've got philanthropy. So I've got 3 pillars that really motivate and guide me. So I've been involved in Vinnies since 2018. Since 2019, I've been appointed an ambassador. And I think it was 221 was the face of the campaign across 90 billboards. Yeah. And my friend was coming over from Sydney. I grew up with him in Cyprus. And he flew over from Melbourne. He lands in Melbourne Airport. There's a massive billboard of my face. He goes, man, the first thing I saw your face, I was going to grab the first flight back to Sydney, man. And now he goes to me. And I go to him, man, that's not very nice. But that was in 2021. I was the face of the campaign. My other best mate goes, I'm seeing you everywhere. I can't take it anymore. So what I did with him, because he worked with me, is I grabbed a massive poster, the pull-up posters of my face, and I put it on his desk when he came into my office. So the first thing you saw was the pull-up van. So we like to have fun with it. So look, I think it's important to give back. And it helps my company stay humble. It helps me stay humble. it actually makes me realize how lucky I am, because when I lost everything when I was 24, I had an amazing family and support network to go home to rebuild. A lot of people don't have that opportunity. And a lot of people that meet with homelessness, it's one bad set of circumstances into another, and they don't have that opportunity to get out. So we're looking at Melbourne, or Victoria, as the most livable city in the world, Melbourne, 7 years in a row, but homelessness is so high. We've got 256,000 people that sleep rough every night. Over 123,000 people are homeless. The fastest growing cohort of single females over 55. That's insane. 1 in 4 are kids under 12. Now I've got 3 kids under 12. So to think that that's people's reality is crazy. Victoria is the fastest growing state, with our homelessness rates increasing even further. And the numbers that I gave you are old statistics. They're growing even further. So Vinnies, which is what I'm an ambassador for, has been going for 171 years. The Soup fans have been going for 50. This is a very, very big year for the Vinnies CEO Sleepout. They've been going for 20 years. The Victorian leg's been going for 15 years. And it's very symbolic to me because the 20 years aligns with my 20 years. So I'm thinking, how synergistic is that? So it was a big year this year for Reventon, because we built a home for charity, which we donated, which went to this year's campaign. We've raised more than $1 million, so we're the highest ever active fundraisers to do this. We've already raised 240K this year. We're going to raise 360, I'm assuming. And as you mentioned, Friday the 30th of May, we've got the biggest charity event at the Melbourne Glass House with 360 people, black tie event, the who's who of Melbourne, amazing entertainment. We even got a song called The Little Means a Lot, which was custom by Matthew Charles, Andrew Loadsman, who went very, very deep in the voice. They're performing it live on the night. And there's only about 30 tickets left. And I have told everybody about it. I've told you guys about 10, 20 times about it. I've messaged you how many times. Yeah. So it's going to be a packed house.
Mate, unreal. If I wasn't away, I'd be there. And all I've heard through this is this sense of proudness in that achievement, and more so as well how that could impact your team. Like the fact that you and your whole company get behind something that's so important. And I can only imagine how good your team members must feel going home at night or back to their family to go, we donated a house and we've raised money to help all these people. Like that's extremely powerful, mate. Congratulations and well done.
Thank you. It's definitely the feather in our cap with everything we've done. But indirectly, what that's done, it shows the community what we're about. People trust someone and that's been doing something. Now, you know, when you do something for 1 or 2 years, I don't know if Jason's really like this. Do I donate? But when you hit that 3-4 year mark, people go, hang on a second. This is important to them. 7 year mark, 8 year mark, $1 million. It changes the dynamic. So like in business, it takes a few years for people to notice you're really coming from the right place. And man, for a company like Reventon, we're talking about the highest ever fundraiser. We've got companies that have got 5,000 employees. Crown Perth, the Gandalf Philanthropy Group, to raise $1 million. And here Reventon is flying the flag of the most raised. And I say to them, it's a perfect example of you can push hard and create great things. And $1 million is phenomenal. It's the most incredible achievement that we've ever done. Our team is so happy. So when I announced that we've reached this milestone, all 20 years, sold the house, $1 million, last gala, it's all aligning perfectly. But it's taken many, many years to get here.
Unbelievable, mate. And I'll definitely be there on the 30th. Front row, I hope. Andrew Loseman's great. So
I love Andrew, man. He's phenomenal.
Very good. Unbelievable. So it's just got me thinking about balance. And, you know, raising that kind of money takes a lot of effort. You're obviously running a business. You mentioned you've got 4 kids, 3 under 12, you know, one with a disability. And how do you, we're all trying to get the balance right. And you might not have balance, and that's okay. But this question is more, not so much how do you fit it all in, but how do you give enough time to these things? Particularly, you know, I'm a reasonably new father with one child who can't even crawl yet. So, you know, there's no school drop-offs or anything like that. So how do you give everything the attention it needs? I guess is the question.
I used to do it all because I give it the best attention I've got, and to be laser focused now because I've got ADHD and I've always my mind's going. The thing that was the hardest for me to learn is how to be present. So when I'm doing one thing, I'm present. So I used to start work at 2:30, 3 a.m. I'd be in this office and I'd leave at 7 p.m. 5-6 days a week. But I'd go home at 7. I'd have dinner with my kids, and 2 of those days I'd go home because I lived in South Yarra and my office is in Melbourne. I'd go with 2 coffees with my ex-wife and me. I'd take my kids to school, then I'd come back to the office. I'd do it on the weekend. I'd get phone calls. Chris, are you coming home tonight? And I'd just get caught up in the day. Now, I was definitely a workaholic. Still am. I don't know if that contributed to my divorce, but probably a good chance. But I'll never change to who I am as a person. I don't think there's such thing. When you talk about balance, I've never understood that word. I'm doing everything that I want to do and I'm living an amazing, fulfilled life. It is very work heavy, but I think it's work-life choices. That's what I determine as. Everything is a priority. There's no balance for me. There's never balance for me, but that's exactly how I want it. I'm happy. Well, I'm a present father now, being a single father. Most of my oldest son lives with me. My only son, he's 22. My 12-year-old is with me every second week. Another 2 live with me 5 nights a fortnight. I'm home every night. I've got help, my sister and my team, of course. I take my kids to school every morning. I don't work 100 hours a week now. I work a lot less, but I try them to be a lot more effective. So the answer to your question is when I do one thing, I try to stay focused on it and give it my all. My kids, I would like to think, would say my father is very present and he's active. As case in point, just to make you laugh, Nick, that's tomorrow. They're all the parties and the activities I have. That's today in order of what I've got to do. Yeah. So you're talking about 5 birthday parties across the weekend. I had 5 2 weekends ago. Saturday morning starts with netball for Penelope, goes into gymnastics for Penelope and Miller, follows Giselle at a party. Then we've got to go to 5 parties across the weekend, and every Sunday I attend church for 3 to 4 hours. I don't miss religiously. So I don't miss any of these events every weekend, and it's 10 parties in the last 2 weekends. And I said to my ex-wife, I go, how many parties did you have last week? She said 0. I go, next week she goes 1. I go, are you calling the parents and organizing? I'm like, what the hell's going on, mate? And she goes, that's what happened to me last year. I go, mate, this is insane. 10 parties. But I'm networking. I'm meeting the single mums, the single dads, the parents. One's doing a drop-off. One's doing a pickup. I've got it in order. And you just get it done, mate. Put a smile on your face. Yeah. Go.
Yeah. And what you said then, just get it done. And I had this conversation with our sales guys the other day because I think when you want to succeed or you want to perform or you want to be, running a business, whatever it is, you can't fold into what society thinks you should fold into. So hypothetically, a 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 days. So I love what you said there about being focused because it's something I'm really trying to work on. Having a child now is when I am at home, being focused, not checking the phone, for example. But the one thing that I've realized, and we're talking about this the other day with the sales guy in the office who's got 2 kids, is you just need to deal with what's in front of you. So whatever is happening in your life at that time or whatever your schedule is allowing or demanding, you have to fit in with that. So
yeah,
if that means you take 8 to 9 off because you're taking your kids to school and then you've got a window at 8 to 9 p.m. to do some more work, then that's probably what you have to do if you want to be a really good salesperson. But if you want to work 8 to 6 and take your kids to school, then this has been the best salesperson is probably not going to happen for you. And that's what I'm realizing at the moment. I'm kind of constantly looking at my schedule going, all right, where can I have impact points? So what I used to do doesn't work anymore.
Impact points. I love that. And you know what, Nick, you said it. There's no wrong or right. For me, I'm unapologetically me. I love what I do. I'm not going to change. I'm going to work hard. And if 9 to 5 is your thing and you want to spend all this at home or play games or watch videos, that's your thing. That's the right strategy for you. There's no wrong or right. I don't force what I do on anyone else. but I never let anyone's opinions forced on me. I'm unapologetically me. I'm authentic, and I don't mind. And I'll share a funny story with you. I remember one day I went home from a crazy day. It was such a challenging day. I wanted to pull my hair out. I was going nuts. And when I got home, I don't switch off. I want to help my partner. I don't care if she was working or not because it's a team effort. This particular day, once every week or once every month, I say, this is my night. Just let me tap out for a bit. It's one of those days. And I come home, I put my legs up for 10 minutes and then I help. So I got home, put the recliner up. It's been a crazy day. One of the kids is pulling my ex-wife's foot while she's cooking. The other one's pulling the other foot. She was an amazing cook. And she looks at me and I'm pissing myself laughing. She goes, what are you laughing at? I go, this is what we signed up for. No one told you to be a CEO. No one told you to be a parent. Put a smile on your face and deal with it. So when I'm having a tough day and I'm in the office, this is what I chose to do. Man up, do it. When you're at home and things are tough, smile, get it done. No one's told you to do it. You don't want to be in sales, don't be in sales. You don't want a 9 to 5, don't work it. Whatever you pick it. And that's kind of how I run my business. It's kind of how I live my life.
I think you said work-life choices, which has just stuck with me the whole way through that. Like when you say work-life balance, it indicates like a good and a bad, or yin and a yang. But work-life choices is you're choosing what to do. Like you're making a conscious choice to do that. And if you're going to do it, you might as well do it with a smile on your face, as you said, and get through it, get through to the other side.
We all do though. We all choose what we do. We might say excuses that we don't, but we all do. And I know I'd choose to be. If you gave me $1 billion with one caveat, you could never work again, I'd say no way. No, thank you. For me, that's a death sentence. Now, I've got other people very close in my family that make great income. Great income. You know, hundreds of thousands, $500,000. They just want to be at home all day or spend more time with their family. I love that. And they think I'm nuts. Most people would think that. But that's who I am. They can't understand me at all. They go, you are insane. But it's what makes me happy. I'm always smiling. I'm doing what I want to do. People don't understand that though.
Well, there's probably a reason you called your podcast Relentless, Life on Your Terms. I mean, the theme the whole way through has been you are who you are authentic right down to the very core, and you'll make decisions that are driving you and filling you with passion and purpose. So that has definitely shone through. I had one that I wanted to touch on, and maybe this will kind of, lead into a couple of questions that I had actually, but I actually, listening to you makes me want to invest in a property. Like, and that is when you know someone who's got passion and got a way of talking about what they do. But the whole thing talking through was around trust, and your business has nearly 500 5-star reviews, and that doesn't happen by accident. So I'd love to know for one, how the hell you do that? Like, what is it that just drives that exceptional service from you and your team? And then if people want to work with you, how do they get in contact with you, and what's the process?
3 pillars. Number one, we're very, very selective of the properties that we go and purchase for our clients. So there's a very strict criteria that you must follow. It's like a funnel for it to be a Reventon approved property. Very, very important. The second pillar is we battle test that with independent research on areas, reports. But the third one, which is the most important, would I personally buy where I sell? Would my team and my family buy? We did a campaign, Invest or We Invest. So it's very, very strong when we buy exactly where we sell, through the builders that we sell, at the prices that we sell. So when I do all these things, I remember when I was writing my book, 2017, I did an experiment because I love experiments. And I personally bought 17 properties using the exact methodology that I wrote about, the Reventon formula. Now, through that methodology, I had 100% winners. Define a winner. High growth area, made good money, over 2.1 million in capital growth, over 430,000 in cash flow, 191 positive cash flow using my methodology. Yeah, but Chris, it might be in the same locations. That's why I bought in 3 locations, and no one can say that. We might not have your income where you can buy 5 properties. So I use the exact methodology in multiple locations through using our formula. So when I speak on stage or when I do seminars, I say, here's the slide of what I bought and where I bought. Take a photo if you want. There's the purchasing entities. This is how I've done it. This is what we're teaching people. So I can give you 8.5 million reasons why this works. People tell you why not to. This is why it does work. This is what action looks like. In any point of the market, we can make money. because we're looking at high growth areas in emerging markets.
And then second to that, how do people get on board?
Reventon.com.au, Chris Christofi. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on Instagram, company Reventon.com, Chris Christofi. If you Google my name, everything comes up there. Free, no obligation consultation is the answer to your question, Nick. We do a strategy session with our clients. We back the information that we'll give our clients. We want to assess if we want to work with you and you want to work with us, because we're in a long-term relationship. So the reason we offer a strategy session at no cost is because we want to help people get into the property market, be able to create, build, and protect wealth for now and generations to come. That's our vision. That's our mission. That's why we do it for free. It costs nothing to have a conversation, so get in touch with us, guys.
Absolutely love it, mate. Chris Christofi, thank you for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. For those listeners, if you can't get to the charity event, check out Vinnies CEO Sleepout, make a donation, ping Chris a message on Instagram or LinkedIn, let him know you've listened to the show and you absolutely loved it. And if you want to, when you're not sick of listening to all the podcasts that we put out from the numbers game, get over to Relentless, Life on Your Terms. Nick's episode is a very good one, if I must say so myself, and give it a listen. There's plenty of good ones on there. Until next time,
stay relentless. It's not about balance, it's about choices. Game over.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The conversations are of a general nature and do not qualify as financial or tax advice. We recommend before you make any financial decisions, you consult a licensed professional. Individuals on the podcast may hold positions in the companies discussed.